What?
What are they doing?
Aaron Jones re-signed.
How much?
Is it 10? It's probably
Jair, free
10,
agent.
right?
Oh no!
Jair, free agent.
What are they doing?
Running backs win championships.
Welcome to another episode of Boom or Bust, the draft show. Max Chadwick alongside PJ Clark, Tate, Sigworth, and Nick Merriam. Continuing our top 10 positional series, now moving to our top 10 linebackers in the 2021 NFL Draft, breaking them down as they stand on our Big Board 2.0. Of course, be sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Boom or Bust Draft. We're on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. And please like and subscribe to the channel and comment any questions you have for our mailbag. So let's jump into our number 10, guys, and that is Monty Rice from Georgia, number 136 on Big Board 2.0. PJ, what do you think about him?
So Monty Rice is probably a long-term backup. I don't know if you're starting Monty Rice at inside linebacker, something's probably gone wrong for your team. But where I do like Monty Rice, athletic upside, special teams. I have preached this entire time is that, and I say it on the podcast a lot, is where you're trying to find those day 3 picks. You're trying to find guys that can contribute on special teams. And I think Monty Rice is a good enough athlete that he's going to be good on kick and punt coverage. I think if you have him as a coverage linebacker, I kind of like it. He's quick enough to stay with running backs. I don't know if he's necessarily big enough to keep up with tight ends, especially downfield. But Monty Rice, good day 3 pick, quality special teamer, a guy you should target, 4th round, 5th round, that type of stuff.
He's fine. There's some guys that maybe I think should be in our top 10 over Monty Rice, but that's just another topic for another day. I think he's a pretty solid run defender. He comes downhill really hard, really fast, and just trucks dudes when he has a free lane. He works his way, when it's a clogged up line of scrimmage. He worked his way to the ball carrier pretty well. He's got pretty good play recognition. I think he's fine in pass coverage, nothing special. Kind of undersized. I mean, he's a fine day 3 pick, like PJ said.
He's a chase and tackle linebacker. He's, not going to blow you away with doing these extra things that can kind of elevate that position. I think he flashes some speed every once in a while. He's a scrappy, smart player. I think his value at the next level, and I think he will start at some point, is that he does a really good job of kind of leveraging, disguising looks in zone coverage. Whether, he doesn't have to make plays on the ball, but I think he has a good understanding of defense and playing kind of that middle field general role. And I think he's probably the play caller there at Georgia. So I would expect something that is very highly valued at that position in the NFL, because it's not easy, is play calling. So you get these guys who know how to do that, and they end up starting at some point. So I think that will be his role at the NFL, although he probably won't be an all-pro backer if he does end up starting for a long time.
Yeah, I like Monty Rice. Number 84 overall, number 6 linebacker for me. Very, very fast.
Spicy!
Very fast.
84.
I'm a Monty Rice guy, man.
I got a late third on him, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have him that high, but
he's speedy. He's able to chase down running backs and even some receivers. Second best pass rusher, I think, behind Micah Parsons in this class. 23 pressures on 119 snaps in his career. Gets in the backfield in a hurry. Good tackler. Only missed 11% of his attempts in his career. Decent run defender overall. He's able to make his way through linemen and find the running back really well. Played well all 3 years. He got significant playing time in the SEC. Never looked out of place. Average in coverage. Only 5 career passes defensed. Always seems a second too late there. A little undersized at 6'1", 235, but great speed. Very good pass rusher. Very good tackler. If he could react quicker in coverage, I think he'd be a really good linebacker at the next level. So number 9, Justin Hilliard from Ohio State, number 122 on the big board. Tate, what do you think about him?
When he plays, he's really good. The issue here is he doesn't play. He has less than 500 career snaps, and he's 25 or 24. He's a 6-year college athlete. He has less than 500 career snaps. Weird. A lot of that to do with injuries. He had his first 2 years knocked out to a bicep injury, and then had an Achilles injury, and I think he looked a little slower this year coming back off that Achilles tear. He's not really a playmaker. I think he's kind of a low ceiling guy. I like him. He's physical, plays with a lot of patience. He's clearly very smart. He just won't get beat out by trickery. Also, PJ, pedigree, former 5-star recruit.
Big pedigree, huge pedigree.
Buzzword. watch the Northwestern game. That was his best game of his college career. He's a rotational linebacker for me and a special teamer at the next level. He might be really good. He also might be really bad. We haven't really seen him play, which is the issue.
So according to NFL Network, Justin Hilliard has the most special team snaps of anybody in this class, and I'm in. It's kind of all I need. I like Justin Hilliard a lot. Tate kind of said it. Injuries just marred by injuries for the last 6 years. I think he's a day two talent when he's healthy. I think like super high ceiling. He's better than half this list if injuries weren't a problem. I'm very pro Justin Hilliard. I think the specialties thing again matters, much like I just said for Monty Rice. But a smart player, experienced, just didn't see it. But I think the pedigree. I say this for a lot of guys, but I think the pedigree is going to end up mattering. And if you're just drafting him based on the talent, injuries might bring that down. But quick guy, hits holes, knows what he's doing, experienced player, very smart. I'm very pound the table for Justin Hilliard.
Yeah, size and measurables. I mean, you come back to it, even with all these injuries, this is the type of guy that will have a high ceiling. I think might go a little earlier than people expect because of it. Plays at a low pad level. Sometimes he leans a little too forward. He's trying to hit with his shoulder at times, and that can get him a little off balance. But he's got good awareness in space. He can move from zone to zone. I think he can run with receivers. He shows that ability. Maybe some upside if he can develop as a coverage player at some point in the next level. Navigates traffic with power. He sometimes struggles to finish through the A/B gap because he just. He's looking to get his shoulder on guys. He doesn't wrap too much, which I think needs to be fixed a little bit with his tackling, but he hits like a truck when he lays his shoulder on dudes. You're going to have trouble blocking him, receivers and tight ends. He's fearless, which is not really a word you want to be saying with a guy that's had 3, career season-ending injuries, but hopefully he can turn that into a good thing at the next level. I think ultimately he's a thumper at the linebacker position who could become a better coverage player if he stays healthy, has an opportunity to be good at the NFL level.
Yeah, number 8 linebacker for me, number 109 overall. Very, very solid in coverage this year for the Buckeyes. Really nice pick in the Big Ten title game. Good run defender this year as well. Closed on running backs really quickly. Very explosive, who, Nick, you mentioned a big hitter. Destroys ball carries when he hits them. Very good at the Senior Bowl in terms of pass rushing drills. But like you guys mentioned, he probably has like a doctorate degree already. He's been in college for 6 years now. He was in the same high school as guys who will be finishing up their rookie contracts next year, like Sam Darnold and Derwin James. He was a senior in high school, and Micah Parsons was a freshman in high school. Only 1 year of tape to go off of. 3 major injuries in his career, like you guys mentioned, tore his bicep, then tore his other bicep, then tore his Achilles. Only played 230 snaps this year, which is a career high. Undersized, 6'1", 231. Not a great tackler. He missed 9 of his 63 career attempts. Needs to do a better job, I think, of wrapping up instead of going for the big hit. He's an okay pass rusher, only 2 career pressures on 25 snaps. He looks solid this year for Ohio State. Lengthy injury history, been in college for 6 years. Still, though, I think if he stays healthy, he could be a nice linebacker at the next level. So number 8 now, another Ohio State linebacker, and I'm sorry to the guy who keeps asking for Pete Werner videos. It's not Pete Werner. It's Baron Browning from Ohio State, number 119 on the big board. Nick, what do you think about Baron Browning?
So I went through this kind of linebacker scouting, getting all my notes of these guys, and had a close comparison between Browning and Dylan Moses. I know kind of the scouting community has had Moses a little higher, and Browning, I think, is a guy that you kind of learn about later in the process because he's more of a, late day 2 maybe, but more likely a day 3 guy. But I think they're very similar players. I don't think he is a super athlete. I don't think he's like this guy with amazing anticipation linebacker position. But I think as a box player, he's pretty consistent in terms of a chase and tackle linebacker who will, give you what you want in terms of filling gaps with some pass rush upside at that position. Teams are looking for replaceable guys who can just step in and not give up big run plays over and over again. And Baron Browning is going to be that, basically.
So somehow after, a year of misplaced Ohio State slander, according to Tate, the 2 guys I am most bullish on in this entire video are the 2 Ohio State guys. I think Baron Browning is great. My one caveat is that I don't think he's a Mike. I think he's an outside linebacker, and that's where they moved him this year, and he was the best he's ever been. But I think he's a great athlete. Another Tate, say the word.
Pedigree, baby. Five-star recruit.
Huge pedigree, #1 linebacker according to the composite. 5-star guy. Another guy that I think really benefited from the role change this year to outside. I think he is a 3-down linebacker, uber athletic. I really understand I am describing Darren Lee, who was terrible, but I think that's kind of the comp. I don't think he's going to go at 19 overall, but I think he's a very firm day 2 top, 80 kind of guy for me. I am very pro Baron Browning.
Yes, I'm also pro Baron Browning. Thank you, PJ. He's athletic. I think Nick said he wasn't athletic. I disagree. I think he's pretty explosive. He's pretty quick. He can be used in a bunch of different alignments in that way. I agree. I don't think he's a Mike linebacker. In 2019 they used him as an edge rusher like a lot. And he had 5 sacks and was actually a good edge rusher. So a 3-4 outside linebacker, drop him in coverage, use him to get the quarterback. I kind of like that fit. Experience, he's over 1,000 snaps played. Mike, Sam, bunch of different alignments, the pedigree. The issues is instincts. I don't know if it's fully there just in terms of play recognition and just reacting too much. And then inconsistencies, pursuit angles. Sometimes maybe he hunts down the big play, kind of like the Davion Nixon thing we were talking about at the team's expense, kind of playing for yourself and not for the whole team fit. Like Justin Hilliard, honestly, sometimes he's over patient and he's so to his responsibility and his role that he's just kind of vibing and the plays over there. Baron Browning is not that kind of guy. But yeah, I like Baron Browning. I think he's a day 2 pick and can definitely start in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm a little lower on Baron Browning. I got a 5th round grade on him. He's number 14 linebacker for me. I'm not. I'm sorry. I just look. He's got the size and the explosiveness you look for in a linebacker. 6'3", 240. Reportedly ran a 4.56 in high school. Vertical leap of 37.5 inches. Looked really good as a pass rusher this year as well. 26 pressures, 6 sacks on 93 snaps, both last year and this year. Not a good tackler, though. Missed 19% of his career attempts. He was better this year, but still not very good in coverage. A lot of passer rating of 123.9 when targeted. Always seems to react late. Not great reacting in the run game either. He misses assignments a lot. So I kind of see where Nick was going with, you don't really see the athleticism because he's fast. And we'll get into another guy who's like this, but he's really fast in testing, but he plays slower because his reaction time is slower. So all the physical tools are there, but it's the mental side, I think, where he struggles. I'm wary of taking this guy higher than mid-day 3. A guy who I think is a lot like him, number 7, Dylan Moses, Alabama, number 100 on the big board. PJ, what do you think about him?
If you mean, I don't really know what you mean by a lot like him because Baron Browning is good and Dylan Moses is not. So Dylan Moses, everybody's favorite Alabama defensive player, apparently. I don't know, man. I don't get it. I feel like he kind of fell off the map this year, but because of the preseason expectations, he's still on the map. And I don't know. He was so objectively terrible this year. He can't cover anybody. That is the big thing. And we're moving in. We're in 2021. You got to be able to cover people if you're going to be a 3-down linebacker. Dylan Moses cannot cover anybody. I think he's good against the run. I think he's okay pass rusher, but just he can't cover anybody, and teams kind of figured that out. Florida certainly did in the SEC championship game because Kyle Pitts on Dylan Moses was just kind of mean, and they kept attacking that. But uber athletic, another pedigree guy who was could have been a 1st-round pick last year and then tore his ACL early on, but I just think the buildup from 2 years ago now at this point is what is keeping his stock as high as it currently is, because this year it was objectively terrible, and I don't know what we're doing here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he tackles well, only 13 missed tackles in 3 years. That's the first thing I got on the sheet. Not a great start to the note sheet. Experience, he would pass 2,000 career snaps if he played another season. He's at 1,700 or something. I think when he's at his peak, he's one of the best in the class. But he just isn't consistent enough play to play that I'm going to be yes, this is a guy that I want to start for my team consistently. I don't think he's a 3-down linebacker like PJ said. He was just abysmal this year in 2020. And it just doesn't make sense to me that somebody with 1,700 career snaps, we just have so many
questions. For Alabama.
For Alabama. This is the Kellen Mond effect, folks. Okay. He has played a lot, and we don't think he's good, but like maybe he's good. It's the Kellen Mond effect in place with Dylan Moses.
I don't think he's very good. He's so I didn't call Baron Browning athletic. The reason for that is I think, and this position isn't running back where it really doesn't matter, and like all the players are the same effect in the NFL on the offense, but linebackers are a very, very difficult position to get, excess production at the NFL level with. You need like a special athlete like a Darius Leonard who can run with tight ends or can run with the receivers and also still be powerful enough to chuck tight ends. It's just hard to find these guys, and especially with learning new defenses, it's a very inconsistent position in terms of the draft. And so you have to find guys who are just clearly special in terms of athleticism to really translate to being that. And Dylan Moses is just not that. His best thing is I think he's the best tackler in this class. But like anyone can become a great tackler with work. That is experience, honestly. I think he is pretty good with play recognition, very uncomfortable with coverage. I think I don't think his measurables are small, but he looked small in college to me. And I think he got pushed around a lot when he was trying to navigate traffic, especially against like power rushing teams. I don't see he was a first round guy for a lot of people. He's still kind of a second, third round guy for some. I don't see it. I have him more as a late fourth round pick. He's just I don't know. He's at his best, a chase and tackle linebacker who maybe calls plays for you.
Yeah, so I still like Moses enough. Number 7 linebacker for me, number 90 overall. Crazy speed, great size, 6'3", 240. Reportedly ran a 4.46 in his freshman year at Alabama. You guys mentioned the tackling. I'd say the second best tackler behind Micah Parsons. Missed only 8% of his career attempts. Really explosive when he goes all out, but 2 different season-ending injuries. He broke his foot freshman year and then missed all of 2019 with a torn ACL. A lot like Baron Browning. He's very fast in testing, but you rarely see that speed on the field. He always seems unsure in his reads, always reacts too late. Really struggled in coverage throughout his career. He's a liability in coverage. Really struggled in run defending this year. He was too patient and didn't trust his eyes. Wasn't as good a pass rusher this year, only 8 pressures on 77 snaps. He's a sure tackler, great size, great athleticism, but he doesn't trust his eyes at all. If you put him in a defense where the reads are simple, I think he could be productive. So number 6 now, Chazz Surratt from UNC, number 75 on the big board. I'll let Tate go first on this one.
Shocking. I think we should let PJ go. I guess
Did that neck crack come through? I'm warming up.
Yeah, well, we got him in the bullpen. He's getting loose. Yeah, so Chazz, athlete, playmaker. Those are the first 2 things I got on my sheet. Sideline to sideline athlete. He's got really good speed, 206 tackles. Like, if you just look at the numbers, he's like unreal. 206 tackles over the last 2 years, 22.5 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks, 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. That is a large stat sheet. But there's also a lot of things. So for those who don't know, he used to be a quarterback. He came into UNC as a quarterback, transitioned to linebacker. And those flaws, that rawness, it shows up on tape. He has tons of missed tackles, the recognition as a run defender, functional strength, play strength for run defending and block shedding needs to be improved. He's got these surprisingly short arms. He looks kind of long on film, but at the Senior Bowl, he had like 30-inch arms. And also he's 24. Those are the cons. But he's a projection pick. He's high ceiling. Like, if you get a coach and you give him development time, like, he could be really good.
I'm looking at you, buddy. Please.
But the issue is there's just a lot of holes. 38 missed tackles in 2 years is a lot. And I'll let PJ go on his tangent, but I mean, he has work to do.
Just to get out of the way here.
Tate's high man actually on Chazz right now.
Yeah, he's moving down. Okay, that's the update. Let's pipe down over there. Walker. I was also like the high man on Walker Little, but Lord knows I'm not the high man on Walker Little.
Please, Nicholas, go.
Tate's got to update his board. Chazz Surratt, I've got like a high mid 3rd round grade on. Tough guy to scout, right? Clearly has great play recognition because he's an ex-quarterback and he can dissect what an offense is doing at a level that most defensive players just can't, because he has that experience that most defensive players just don't have. And he's an athlete, and it shows up in coverage at times, shows up when he's, trying to shoot outside the tackle to make a tackle on a running back who's running, to the outside. but he's not comfortable navigating traffic. There's a lot of flat-footedness, a lot of being too patient, just not really. Sometimes he really understands what's going on in front of him, and he hits a hole, and he just makes amazing things happen. And sometimes he just kind of stands there, and it's like, you gonna do something, Chazz? Well, not this play, maybe next one. A lot of that watching the film. Super raw. I think UNC really limited him in their defense. I think they knew that he had some NFL potential, and they didn't want to ruin his tape by making him do too much, and they kind of let him just not freelance as much as like simplify what he had to do in that defense so that he could develop more than, be a, amazing linebacker in college. Coaching, obviously, going to be huge. I'll throw Washington out there because Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera, I think, are some of the best linebacker developers in the league. If they got him mid-third round, I think it'd be a great pick for a team that I think needs that position. But this is one of these guys, again, where it's situational. It's so tough to project, but I like the way he's headed. I think he definitely has an interesting background for this position. And teams are going to probably jump on it if they like him a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the big no-no that I have for everybody. He's old, which is an issue. It's the raw talent at the age of 24 is mildly concerning because you're not, milking a ton out of it because he's already 24. The reason why he is raw talent, Tate mentioned it, played quarterback for the first 22 years of his life. I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's a rare skill set, at least on the defensive end, to be a linebacker, no less, and have the play recognition that he does because he did play quarterback for the first 22 years of his life. And I think that is a very rare thing that some smart team will want to take a shot on. So it's kind of the tale of 2 years. 2019, he was great. He was awesome. In 2019, he showed he could play linebacker, showed the plus sideline to sideline athleticism, showed especially as a pass rusher, really in both years, but especially in 2019, was phenomenal as a pass rusher and showed an ability to break through blocks at the line of scrimmage and use his athleticism to get to the quarterback. 2020 took a step back as the athletic freak, and I think got better in coverage, got better at playing linebacker, although the results might not have been pretty. Missed tackles are a thing. I get it. Still is not a plus coverage guy. I get it. But I think the raw athleticism, the raw talent, and, it's coaching, but you're not going to find a guy with his athletic background and his mental background at the linebacker position. I don't think he's a Mike. I think he's an outside guy. I think he's going to be athletic enough to stay with tight ends. The running backs I would be a little more scared of. But at the very least, he gets into the backfield and can blow up pass plays. And that's going to have some value to somebody. So I think he's a top 70, 75 guy. If somebody took him in the back half of 2, I'm with it. I'm still planting my flag here. But there are concerns that I do understand.
Yeah, he's the number 8 linebacker for me, number 91 overall. The thing about him actually is he's not really doesn't have that great a speed. He only ran a 4.64, but the difference between him and guys like Dylan Moses and Baron Browning is that in my opinion, he goes all out every single snap. He's going 200 miles an hour every single snap. Really improved as a tackler this year. Only missed 14% of his attempts this year after missing 25% of his attempts last year. Good pass rusher, 62 pressures, 12.5 sacks, and only 200 snaps in his career. Still learning the position, which is a pro, I think, is like you guys mentioned. Only 2 years of playing linebacker, being a quarterback his whole life. Undersized, he's 225 pounds, is 15 pounds lighter than the average. I think, obviously, a lot of it has to do with him being raw, but out of all the linebackers I've watched, he's the worst run defender. If an offensive lineman gets his hands on him, it's over. Can't get off blocks really well. Misses his reads a lot. He improved as a tackler this year, but still missed 21% of his career attempts. And at 225 pounds, he might never be good in the run game. Not really great in coverage either. He allowed a 104.8 passer rating when targeted. He's a project. He's a good pass rusher, improved his tackling, but he's got okay athleticism, has a lot of work to do in coverage and run defending. But again, he's a project who you can hopefully improve for the next level. Number 5 now, JABRIL Cox from LSU, number 60 on the big board. Nick, what do you think about him?
So this is a guy who transferred from North Dakota State after playing well there, came to LSU, something that I think was a very good choice because he ends up in the SEC and he plays well this year against high competition, and it's going to work out for him. He's probably going to be a second-round pick. I have a second-round grade on him. Lanky outside type. He moves well. He's got long arms, helps him fight off blocks. Coverage and a pass rush backer. I don't think he's going to be a guy you're going to have shooting gaps too often, although I think he can, on the outside make some tackles against outside type runs, but he really excels as a coverage player and as a pass rush guy out of a nickel. He might not be playing. You might be able to play nickel with him kind of as your like safety backer hybrid type in a defense, like a team like Green Bay would love because they play so much. Well, I guess now that Mike Pettin's gone, they used to play so much of that type, but let's see if they continue. We don't know for certain. Good zone instincts out of the slot. I'm a little concerned about his ability because of size to push tight ends around with his power, but he is athletic enough definitely to be a coverage back of the NFL. Like I said, he's an outside guy, and I have XQB written down for him. I don't remember where I got that from or if that's true for certain, but if he is an ex-quarterback, then that plays to his understanding of zone coverage and to his ability to be a coverage backer at the next level. I don't know.
Best coverage guy in this class that we're talking about. I have a high 2 on him. I have him at 42 overall. I think the difference between him and Bolton is I don't see as much as a drop off. A guy really just stood out at the Senior Bowl, especially in coverage. Could keep up with running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, everything, you name it. Good in man, good in zone. There were plays, especially in the Florida game. If I can find some, I'll drop them in here. He's keeping up with Kyle Pitts, 30 yards down the field. Like he's just manning up and going up against, perhaps the best skill position player in the country. And, not a run defensive guy. I do think he's a 3-down guy. I think he's fine against the run, but, this is a guy, we talked about Dylan Radins, that didn't necessarily dominate the FCS, but then Jabril Cox did dominate the FCS and then came in and was, better than Dylan Moses at the very least in the SEC in his 1 year and showed up at the Senior Bowl and played good against NFL competition there. So it's pretty clear that he can play. I think he's so far and above, coverage. This is a passing league now. You got to be able to coverage. And I think he's so far above everybody else at that, a high 2 for me, top 45, slam dunk. Matter of where he goes. I do think he's firmly a second-round pick, but I would take him higher than most.
Yeah, this is one of the big risers of the 2020 season after transferring from NDSU, stepping up to the competition level of the SEC. He played very well, like both Nick and PJ mentioned. They talked about the coverage ability, probably the best coverage linebacker in the class. I'd agree with that, PJ. 9 pass breakups, 4 interceptions the last 2 years. He's a pretty good athlete. Speed and explosiveness, sideline to sideline ability, it's certainly there. He's also a really good pass rushing threat, 45 pressures in the last 3 years, which is pretty underrated for him. But I don't really think he's a very good run defender. I think that's probably going to be his biggest hole in the NFL. I don't know if he has a ton of functional strength, I guess. Sometimes he gets a little thrown around. Certainly on the outside runs, he can, seal the edge and yada, yada. And he also has 32 missed tackles in the last 3 years. So still raw, still a little bit of development maybe needed, but I see certainly better than Chazz Surratt.
Yeah, he's a number 5 linebacker for me, number 79 overall. He's one of the best coverage linebackers in this class. Excellent at North Dakota State and kept it up at LSU. 8 interceptions in his career. Only allowed a 62.3 passer rating when targeted. He covers tight ends with ease. Good pass rusher, like Tate mentioned. 10 pressures on just 36 snaps this year. Really good length at 6'4", too. He's 2 inches taller than the average linebacker, but still 9 pounds lighter. Very skinny for the position. Doesn't have great power. Not very quick either, despite being undersized. You guys mentioned it. Not a great run defender. Not a great tackler. Missed 15% of his attempts this year. Gets stuck on blocks too often. But he came from the FCS to the SEC and faced questions on whether or not he could hold up. In coverage, he definitely did. Not a very good run defender. Not a very good tackler. And he's pretty skinny. But coverage is king for today's linebackers. And Cox, I'm not going to say he's the best at it, but I think he's one of the best in coverage. So number 4 now, Nick Bolton from Missouri, number 31 on the big board. Starting to get to our first-round guys now. PJ, what do you think about him?
So I have Nick Bolton at 33. So I do not have a first round grade on him. The only reason that I don't have a first round grade on him, he's not a 3-down guy to me, and I can't take a 2-down linebacker in the first round. I think I'd be hard pressed to do that. He's your thumper. He's your prototypical Mike, just gonna blow people up, uber aggressive, quick trigger on tackles, just absolutely blows people up. The coverage is lacking. It's just not there. And I think if you're having him on the field on third down in obvious passing situations, I think teams are going to be able to take advantage of that. So I think he's a 2-down guy, but this is just good angles on tackles. He knows what he's doing. Clearly a smart guy. I think he is a bona fide Mike day one, middle linebacker. It's just, I don't know if he's the 3-down guy. I think the coverage is lacking to a point where I can't have a first round grade on him because I can't have confidence in him on third down.
He hits really hard. I think that's the first thing you notice when you turn on the Nick Bolton tape. He's really smart. He's got, I think, excellent play recognition and pursuit ankles. He just goes right away off the snap. He's not chasing and reacting like some of these other guys that we've been talking about. Just a lot of instinct in there. Physical dude, like I talked about. He's also pretty good at rushing the quarterback. I think he's fine in coverage. I don't know if the coverage is, quote, not there, according to PJ. It's definitely his biggest weakness. I don't think, he's no JABRIL Cox, but I think, in zone coverage, he can do a fine job. Man coverage, like maybe he gets exposed here and there. It's certainly his biggest weakness. I agree with that. I just don't agree that it's all the way not there. And he's not like your jock Chazz Surratt times like frame mold. He's only 6 foot 230, kind of shorter, stockier, and isn't really your modern linebacker, but I still think he fits. I think he can do a fine job in coverage, and I think as a run defender, he's excellent.
Yeah, Nick Bolton, first of all, great first name, but perhaps the best tracking linebacker in this draft. Doesn't seem to be fazed by anything that crosses his face. He locks in on a linebacker, stays with the guy, and just pops dudes. And we talked about, I think Tate mentioned it, pops dudes a little bit too much at times, had a couple penalties. But, at the next level,
very pro-targeting, Nick Bolton. Very pro-targeting.
Yeah. But, targeting is not a thing in the NFL right now. So, maybe get away with it a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. The team's going to...
Daniel Sorensen, very cool.
Yeah. Tate Roof for the Browns, in case you didn't know. Great first name. Anyways, this guy, sometimes he's going to fall in love with him just because of just how tough this dude is. He is a zone guy. You're never going to have him running with receivers. He's just not that type of athlete. I think he has some trouble sometimes overcommitting in the run game, probably because he's looking to just blow guys up. But this is your Mike linebacker. Put him in the AB gap. Let's get it on. Let's hit somebody. Great first name. Take him early second round.
Yeah, I got an early second round grade too. Number 4 linebacker, number 38 overall. He's the second best run defender in this class behind Micah Parsons, I think. He trusts his reads and flies towards the ball. 16.5 tackles for loss the last 2 years. Big hitter, never moves backwards either. Decent tackler too. Only missed 16% of his attempts in his career. Decent pass rusher as well. 30 pressures and 4 sacks on 104 snaps in his career. Undersized at 6 feet tall. Doesn't have really good length. Solid frame, though, at 232 pounds. Took a big step back after being elite in 2019. He was elite in coverage in 2019, but took a huge step back this year. He allowed a 94.5 passer rating when targeted this year after just 71 in 2019. Not very fast either, despite being undersized. He looked like the easy linebacker 2 pick for this draft for what he showed last year, but he took a big step back this year. Still, he's got great instincts in the run game, despite not being the biggest or the fastest. If he can rebound to his 2019 form, I think he'll be really, really good in the NFL. All right, number 3 now, Zaven Collins from Tulsa. Kind of came out of nowhere this year. Number 29 on the big board. Nick, he's your guy.
This guy is 6'4", 260 pounds, and he can run with tight ends. I just don't know what else. He's an edge rusher, and he is probably closer to a safety, in my opinion. He's going to play outside linebacker. I don't believe some people want to play edge because he's a good pass rusher, but honestly, we talked about this earlier. Find me special traits at the linebacker position if you want to excel at that position at the next level. He's 260 and he could run with tight ends. Like what? Like this guy is so clearly different than anything else we've seen come out of college. He clearly was the best athlete on the field in every game he played at Tulsa. I think he's got great zone instinct. He hits hard, good play recognition. He does literally everything on the field. There's a game that I watched for him where he has like an interception, forces a fumble, takes a couple tackles in the backfield, gets a safety on a blitz. Dude is just an explosive playmaking linebacker who clearly needs some development because, you know, when you get a guy at a school like Tulsa who is just not the normal athlete for that position, you're not necessarily going to know what to do with him. So they're just throwing him all over the place. Like, hey, let's in the A gap. Hey, cover this receiver for no reason because maybe you can because it's the American Conference and, you know, you're 260 and you can run. He is a moldable freak at that position at the next level. And if he gets the right coach, this guy might have a higher ceiling than any other player at this position in this draft. Like, he is just ridiculous. Now that the concern is, you know, it's Tulsa, you know, the skill level guys he's going against probably not as high as, say, a Micah Parsons or a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. But this is it's just hard to describe. Like, he's an edge rusher playing linebacker, and he's good at it.
So we've mocked a lot of awards on this show. Alex Leatherwood, Outland Trophy winner, even the Devontae Smith Heisman, I guess you could get into. They got this one right, giving this guy the Nursery Award for the best defensive player in the country, because that's what he was this year. I mean, Zaven Collins is a freak. Yeah, another former quarterback. High school quarterback.
Trend.
Yeah, trend. Play recognition. I don't really know where to go from Nick's little monologue there because he kind of covered it all. You know, this is a 3-year starter who, was the best player in the country this year, but also was a freshman All-American coming in and playing linebacker for the first time as a redshirt freshman, which I think should be noted. But I mean, just dominant on the edge. Good in coverage, had 4 interceptions this year, had 2 pick sixes. He can move at 260 pounds. Like, this guy, I think I might agree with Nick. Listen, we all really like Micah Parsons, and we'll get into that, and we did the video on it. But if he gets the right coaching and is in the right situation, this isn't a guy that I want to box into a Mike or an outside or like any type of outside mold. Versatile. He can do whatever you want him to do, and it's like just – this is a guy you want on your football team, and we're going to say that for all of the top 3 here, but to a different extent, it's not like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who might not be able to play linebacker because he can't get off a block because he's tiny. Zaven Collins is 260 pounds. He's a defensive end. It's like, what are we doing at this point?
All right. I mean, I like him. I don't really know where to go from here. BJ and Nick have just given him glowing 5-star Yelp reviews. I think if there's anybody I'm too low on, I think it is Zaven Collins. Like, I think that I'm going to kind of echo what they just said. He's like, I think late 20s on my board as is, but he probably deserves to move up. Tons of experience, 3-year start, over 2,000 snaps, produced all 3 years. It wasn't like his first year as a true freshman. He was just meh. He was very good as a true freshman. Great athlete for his frame. I don't think he's that quick. I'm like, if we're talking 40 times, I'm thinking like a 4.7 at the max. And also the competition level is something I want to be concerned about. But again, I think if there's anybody I'm too low on in this draft, I think it is Zaven Collins, and I'm preparing myself to be too low on him.
Yeah, he's probably going to move up my board a little bit too. He's number 3 linebacker still for me, but I have him number 37 overall, so he's probably going to move up a little bit. Ridiculous size. You guys mentioned it. He's got edge rusher size. Outstanding in coverage, 5 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, and allowed a passer rating of just 59.1 when targeted in his career. His length really shows up in coverage. Edge rusher size, looked like an edge when he rushed a passer this year. 16 pressures, 4 sacks on just 51 snaps. Pretty good movement skills. You guys mentioned it. Doesn't move like a jumbo linebacker. I don't think he's that great of a run defender or tackler. He missed 18% of his attempts in his career. Took a pretty big jump this year. He was good, you know, in 2018 and 2019, but obviously he took a big jump to the best defensive player in the country this year. Level of competition is a concern. American Athletic Conference, the best group of 5 conference, but is still a group of 5. Best linebacker in the country this year. If you really want a good blitzer who's also excellent in coverage, he's your guy. I think he's the best linebacker in this draft on passing downs. He's got some work to do in the run game and as a tackler, but he's the best linebacker on passing downs, which is really, really valuable in today's game. So number 2 now, the guys we did a video on, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame, number 17 on the big board. Nick, what do you think about him?
I should say I have my rankings for these past 2 guys. Owusu-Koramoah for me overall right now is number 17. Zaven's number 20 for me. I think I'm high, man. Might be tied with somebody on Zaven, but obviously love Zaven. But these guys are, despite Owusu-Koramoah being smaller, I think somewhat similar. I don't know if Jock's like the, gonna be playing as close to the box as Zaven will be because he's obviously smaller. He's 215 pounds, but you've kind of laid the woodwork with these guys like Darius Leonard who just play exclusively outside the box and cover guys for a guy like Jock to be a really highly, valuable player at the next level if he works out. Has this type of fluidity and movement skills combined with size to cover and do things next level that you just don't get very often from the linebacker position. You're not going to find many guys like this dude in this draft who you can plug it and say, go cover this guy and don't need much development. It's really just him because I think Zaven, you're going to want to take advantage of some of his ability of his size to be close to the box. And I think JABRIL Cox probably needs a little more time playing at a high level considering he's coming from FCS only 2 years removed to be a starter in the NFL. This is your plug-in starter as a cover backer. You don't find many of these guys every draft. You don't find many of these guys in the NFL in general. And he has some has the athleticism to be a good pass rusher as well. The only concern is if a team takes him and says, you're a middle linebacker, and that would be a problem because he's not.
Yeah, check out our video on JOK right above. So number 1 now, Micah Parsons from Penn State, number 10 on the big board. PJ, what do you think about him? We did a video on him, by the way, as well.
Yeah, so go hit that. Micah Parsons is the best linebacker, college linebacker since, at least Luke Kuechly, right? We're talking about 10 years. Micah Parsons is dominant, and he didn't have to play this year for anybody to know that. The Cotton Bowl 2 years ago at this point is, might be the most dominant single impressive defensive performance I've seen. I mean, this guy's all over the place. He's got size. He's got speed. This is an athlete that, quite frankly, does not exist at the NFL level in terms of size and speed combo at the linebacker position. The question is coverage. He's a 3-down guy just because he's so dominant in pass rush, but coverage, getting him isolated in something like that is something. It's not that he can't do it. We didn't see a lot of it at Penn State, and then he didn't play this year, so it's just something that isn't on tape. I have no doubts that he will be at least fine in coverage. Slam dunk, 3-down guy who you're taking in the top 12. I think much like Isaiah Simmons, there is the potential for this to turn into a little fall where maybe just on talent alone, he's a top 5 guy in this class, but gets pushed further down into the later half of the top 10 or even out of the top 10. It wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, this is your dominant of an immediate impact defensive player as there is in this class, bar none.
Yeah. So that's what we got. Our top 10 linebackers in this year's draft. Of course, be sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Boom or Bust Draft. Please subscribe and like the video, and please comment any questions you have for our mailbag. So for PJ Clark, Tate Sigworth, and Nick Merriam, I'm Max Chadwick. Have a great night.